We all know that not everyone is good at everything. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. These really come into play, especially when it comes to something like school and learning and taking tests. We have all failed at least one test or exam in our lives. I think we can all admit that. It might not have been that we didn't know the material, but it might have been that we just couldn't relate it to the way the teacher was testing us on, or even just relate it to what the class subject was. Exams are not a beneficial way to evaluate the learning of a student. So first, we'll look at the problem with exams, and then we'll discuss the clear solutions to eliminate the problem. But first, let's start with the problem. Students are not given the opportunity to fully show that they grasp the information the teacher has taught them. Not all students have the same learning styles, so tests really actually give inaccurate results of their knowledge. Not all students can relate what they have learned in class to the question styled by the teacher that they are put in front of them as an exam. According to Fumira's article from debate.org, teachers give exams because they are just looking for the easiest and fastest way to look at the information and assess their children in bulk. They want to be able to quickly go through and grade their tests, give them the results, give them the answers that they got wrong, and go on into the next subject. As a result of this, there's not opportunities for those students who fall behind because of the testing. According to Caroline Davies in the article, most adults feel exams fail to gauge real ability. If a student fails a test, the material is never actually retaught to them. Because of this, they do not learn from their mistakes. The teacher just obviously goes over the answers and is like, okay class, we're going to go on to the next chapter. The class keeps going, and that doesn't, the child will be lost for the rest of the course because each concept completely builds on the next one. Like the chapters, you have to learn one chapter to learn the next chapter. Because of the grades they get because they didn't understand the material, they might have trouble when it comes to getting into college and to even getting scholarships for college, because those are grade-based sometimes too. Because high school transcript actually means something when you go on to college. People might not realize that though. If a student really does know the answer, it just doesn't test well, affect them later in life, but it wasn't exactly their fault. It's not like they didn't understand. According to the article, university entrance exams should no longer be mandatory. Now that we understand the problem with exams, we can now understand how to fix these problems. Students should be presented with other ways to assess their learning abilities. Consortium schools offer project-based learning assessments. For example, according to the article, an alternative to standardized testing for student assessment by Valerie Strauss. These include analytical essay, a social studies research paper, applied math problems, and a science project. These are the 4 ways that they combine together to assess a child on a topic. It's not broken down to an exam, but it's all put together based on what the child can put together and explain to the class. Consortium schools offer education of the 20th. To Valerie Strauss in 2011, 86% of African Americans and 90% of Latino male graduates of these schools were accepted into a college. I think this is pretty good results considering that they didn't take exams. They just put together different projects and presented them instead. Those have not gone through the traditional ways, but the school has far lower rates of dropout and suspensions and a higher rate of teacher retention compared to a school in New York City. The requirements of the student to show their knowledge in the multiple subjects helps them retain the information instead of just testing on it and then forgetting about the next day. Because that's what we all do. We cram for tests. The concept of schooling in this way is ideal for the students who struggle with their grades because they get bad test scores. The results of their work might be excellent in things such as their lab work or their homework, or even just like their classroom participation. But their grades drop even from like a C, down that low just because of a stupid test grade. No other nation tests as much as the United States does. Students cram the night before exams and they just don't retain the information. They retain more if they learn from hands-on learning, such as a lab or even having to explain what they learned or did to the class. In conclusion, exams are not a beneficial way to evaluate the learning of a student. It's more to accommodate all learning types. The school should be able to assess based on how well a student can interpret the material, because not all students learn the same. It is beneficial for a student to be evaluated on their knowledge and not what they test at.